Afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone is enjoying their lovely, absolutely beautiful Saturday afternoon. Now, in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the OSET 24.0R from OSET Bikes. Me personally, I've never heard of these things till about 2 weeks ago. I was laying down in bed and I decided that it's time for me to get a trials bike. But obviously, living around here in the suburban areas, I don't think my neighbours will be overly too appreciative of a 250cc or a 300cc trials bike bouncing around everywhere. So with that being said, I took a look at the OSET 24R and sooner had learnt that these are actually, believe it or not, 100% electric. And at first I kind of thought to myself, well, how good could an electric bike be? You know, you go from a petrol fueled engine to 1400 watt electronic engine. It just, to me, didn't feel or sound right, especially for the price. I picked this one up for $6,000 brand new off the showroom floor last Sunday from Motorcycle Studio in Wangara, Perth, Western Australia. Other than the actual OSET Bikes website itself, osetbikes.com.au, this was the only place I could actually find the bike in all of Australia, so kind of lucky. I was only about an hour and a half south of where the store was. Now, I know it's only a video and you can't actually see correctly how the bike's laid out, but they're tough. They are extremely tough. If you actually have a look here on the frame, you can see that it splits into two, just like a motorcycle. Frame, solid frame at the bottom. Now it runs down here, and it's actually, if you can see in there, it's quite thick. Now I couldn't see any of this. I didn't even know this existed on the bike from the reviews I was looking at, which is why I've thought and decided that maybe I can make something in English for you guys, just in case there's some Australian people out there, or English people I suppose, that are looking into these OSET bikes. Maybe I can give you a hand with this review. Now, back to the frame. The frame is actually very, very strong, and it does go throughout the majority of the bike. I know most frames do that on motorcycles, but this isn't a motorcycle. Now for the swing arm, as you can see from the main frame, it runs down, and it runs also up behind this rear fender here. It runs down to the bottom plate, which is absolutely, you're never ever going to break that. I don't care who you are or what you're doing, I can tell you now, you are never ever going to break that plate. Anyway, so from here, this is our swing arm. It starts off here, it splits into two, forms into one, goes under the bike to the rear suspension, and then splits back into three and comes back down to the end. So there's your swing arm there, and again, nice and sturdy and strong. Your foot pegs, just same as a motorcycle. Your plastics, same as a motorcycle's plastics. Everything here is basically a motorcycle, other than the motor, as strange as that sounds. You've got a big 24 volt battery in here. Maximum charge is 3 hours, and I get, I'd probably say about 10 to 12 hours on one charge, and I still don't even notice the bike lacking in power. As far as speed goes on the bike, it's not too quick. Obviously it's a trials bike, it's not supposed to be flogging up and down the street. I'd say it probably hits about 35, maybe 40 kilometers an hour max, full charge, full throttle. Yeah, but as far as torque goes, this thing, as you can see by the end of my bike here, I'm not sure if you can see that in the camera, but it definitely has no problem getting up and going, for sure. Definitely 100%. Quarter throttle with all the control settings, which I'll show you now. With all the control settings turned up, which is what I have my bike set to, which is actually a really, really cool feature to suit the rider. I shouldn't have them turned up as far as I do, but I have. Here you've got your speed, you got your power, and you've got your response. All of mine are maxed out, and it is an absolutely scary ride, let me tell you that. Fully adjustable forks, and your rear DNM suspension. I can't say I've ever heard of it, but I've looked them up and they're apparently fairly popular on these things, and for trials bikes. So that's your rear suspension just in there, and that again also is fully adjustable, which I thought was a cool feature on this bike. Alright, so what else is there? I can't really tell you guys much as I don't know too much about them, but I can tell you what I know. And what I do know is $6,000, brand new off the showroom floor. Is it worth it? For me personally, I'd probably say no, they're not worth the 6,000. I'm not saying that they're not a great deal of fun, because they are. They're quiet. I mean, I ride around here and all the neighbours don't even know I'm riding around, so it's good, you know. You can jump off the gutters and the curbs. You know, I've got a brick in the middle of the floor there just to bounce around on, which is quite fun. But $6,000 personally, I mean, that could be a much nicer motorcycle or something. So for $6,000, I wouldn't recommend it. I'd probably try look at picking up one second hand, maybe for $2,000, $3,000. I think there's probably a lot more value for the bike for that sort of money. You know what I mean? $6,000. I mean, the bike's worth more than my car. So yeah, it's a tough one to pick, but it is great fun. It's definitely responsive. It's not cheap shit, which is what I was worried about. Sorry to cuss. I was extremely worried that I was going to buy the bike and it was just going to have all sorts of faults. You know, you can't go through water, you can't do this, you can't do that. Although it's waterproof. Now, it's not these casings that make it waterproof. As you see, you can just pull them up. So I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. They're unique and they're different, but for me personally, worth $6,000. I feel like I got a little bit ripped. Although if my skills were a little bit greater, I think it probably would be worth the money. Now, this is the big version. This is the massive professional version. These are also competition legal. For me, it's probably not worth $6,000 for me. I mean, I would have much preferred a petrol powered bike, although to someone who knows how to ride and knows what they're doing, it's probably worth the money that was asked. So yeah, Jesus Christ, I'm not very good at this whole review thing, I know that much, but hopefully I've gotten in a little bit closer for you guys, and you just can have a decent look, and it might help you make a decision. On a rating out of 10, I will rate the bike at 10, but for $6,000 brand spanking new, for me personally, I mean, if you guys have got the experience and the skills, it's probably worth it for you guys, but for me, yeah, it's not worth it for me, definitely. But overall, a great fun bike, very strong, very reliable. I don't feel like any of you are actually going to break the bike unless you're actually trying to cut the damn thing in half. So there you go. I'll let you guys go now. I've got a neighbour out with a blower, so he probably can't even hear me anymore. But thanks for watching the video, and I'll post some videos of me hopefully not crashing the bike. Enjoy.